Welcome everyone to Alice and Chill Open Mic. I'm Sharina, the creative producer on My Neighbor Alice. Thank you so much for joining me today. Before I get to my special guests, a few exciting things have been happening in Luma Lunda. I don't know if you have seen or heard, but Alice is launching a new chapter beginning June 17th. This will mark a massive milestone for Alice, and it's only 2 weeks away. How exciting! So excited for that and for all of you to experience it with us. We also just launched our biggest airdrop ever, the Alice Adventure Airdrop. There will be a new wave every 4 weeks with new tasks and big rewards and 50,000 Alice at stake during the first wave, which is happening right now. So you can visit our X profile and click on the link to get all the details to be a part of that. And lastly, I don't know if you saw, but something is hatching in Luma Lunda after an unexpected snowfall. A new adventure, a new chapter is quickly approaching, and I'm so happy that all of you are here joining us for this monumental journey. GM, everybody. So now with all of that being said, the real reason why we're here today, Open Mic today is so special because it's our first time highlighting a very important in-house collaboration that Alice team has been so excited about. There is great importance in being able to partner with projects and brands that exist on the same chain. And I'm so ready to dive into this topic and chat with these two powerhouses about just that. So let me bring in my first guest that we all know and love. He's Tassel, Alice's amazing community manager. Hello, welcome.
Hello. Welcome, everyone. Excited to
I'm
be
so
here.
happy. Yeah, so happy to have you here, Tassel. Always love chatting with you. Um,
Likewise.
and my second guest is a man of many rules and has been in the gaming and blockchain space for a very long time. I'm so excited that Tassel and I are able to chat with him today about the ins and outs of the space and our projects. So, welcome the CPO of DAR Open Network, Manfred. Welcome.
Welcome.
Hey guys. Hey guys. Glad to
Hey.
be here.
Yes, we're so excited that you're here. Thank you so much for joining us. And we're so excited to dive into this partnership that we recently announced with DAR. So, before we dive into all the juicy topics, though, why don't you first give a quick intro of just who you are and what you do for the people that are listening that might not know you or are joining for the first time? So, maybe Tassel, you can go first, and then Manfred, you can go after.
Sure. I am Tassel, the community manager here at My Neighbor Alice, and I am all things community. I am here to make sure that I'm the voice of the community, and that's what I do.
Awesome. Thanks, Tassel.
Sure.
Manfred, go ahead.
Yes. Again, hey everyone. I'm Manfred. I'm CPO as I was introduced on the Open Network, among other roles basically on the project. I started with Everything Delania a short time before Mainz Delania as our first game launched. That was like back in, I think, 2021 when I joined the project. My background is gaming. I've been around as a product manager, game director, and producer for like almost 15 years. Now it's even longer. Before I joined Delania. Initially, I was project lead on Minds of Delania, just getting the project done and launch it. That was like basically my task. And then I stuck around with the team was happy with my performance, so I stuck around. And over time, we discussed with our stakeholders quite a lot on where to take our Delania project. And even though we started a game first, we then quickly realized in the last bear run that we have to establish ourselves a bit wider, think more about a platform or ecosystem approach, and evaluate where we can take Delania as a brand. And this is what led to us basically launch the Open Network, continue developing Minds of Delania as our first and primary game, but we also kickstarted more game developments on our side, internal projects. We are partnering with lots of projects to get them on our platform. Among those is My Neighbor Alice now, which we're super happy about, super excited about.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is basically who I am. And besides just handling product related stuff, I'm also working a lot on creative direction, just figuring out where to take the open network in general, what the next creative endeavors are for us, and also handling a couple of more management related tasks, budgeting, team management, all that fun stuff that needs to happen. That's
amazing. Busy man, busy man. So thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come chat with us on Open Mic.
Well, I'm happy. It's nice to not deal with numbers for a while. So glad to be here.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly why we have this space, because we love inviting people in just to kind of take a break from what you do every day and come hang out and chat about what you do and chat about this industry, chat about life, anything you want to talk about. Dogs. I love dogs. So so you kind of already touched on one of the things that I did want to talk about initially, because when thinking about this episode today, there were so many things that came to mind, but one of them is basically the conception of My Neighbor Alice and DAR Open Network, because I know that it evolved from Delarnia. So I kind of want you, even though you touched on it, dive in a little bit deeper of how DAR Open Network was concepted and like how you guys basically evolved the process from Minds of Delarnia to DAR, and then we'll dive a little bit into Alice after that as well.
Yeah. Okay. Let's try to give you guys the elevator pitch explanation here before spending too much time.
Perfect.
But like, if we go back to Minds of Delarnia, what you guys have to know is, in comparison to what you're doing with My Neighbor Alice, which is already like, from its basic concept, it's like a very wide project, right? Like it's almost a metaverse kind of thing with what you're building. Minds of Delarnia was a very narrow focus game experience, right? It was like a side-scrolling, or still is a side-scrolling action adventure with some RPG mechanics, very linear progression. That's it. It's a very traditional game in that sense. That includes Web3 aspects, that includes land ownership, that includes NFTs, our own token, all that kind of stuff. So somewhat of a player-owned or player-driven economy, but it has a very narrow lifetime window as a project. That was pretty clear, right? Like as games just exist. And with Minds of Delarnia, you have something where people get to a certain point, then they hang around, very primarily driven by the play-to-earn aspects that come with it. But your lifetime journey as a traditional gamer ends at a certain moment, right? So for us, it was obvious that we have a successful token, we have a successful game that people love, but how do we set ourselves up so that we are not solely reliant on just one game, a very traditional game, so to speak, in the Web3 space? And among a lot of things that I looked into back then was just the basic idea of how about using DAR back then, now D token, across multiple games on a platform. That was actually the first question I had to the Minds of Delarnia stakeholders when I was onboarded. It was like, why do we only do one game for a successful token, right? Why put all of our utility, all of our chances of success into one basket? It's great to have it. It's a great project, but we should start looking into the future, right? And set ourselves up so that the value that we have as a entity, as a foundation, as a project, is actually the token, right? That can drive more development, that can carry us on for years, not just one game necessarily. So while we continued investing a lot into Minds of Delarnia, doing great things with us, we then started looking into, okay, what is an ecosystem for us, right? Like, what is a platform for us? We are building back then on BNB chain, migrating to Chromia, but there are so many games in all kinds of places. How do we tackle all of this if we want really to focus on aspects that have been talked about a lot in the space, but maybe nobody really tackled? And one of the things for me was like cross-game experiences, interoperability. Like those are the USPs that Web3 can bring to the table next to play to earn, and just like the monetary incentives that it creates. So I looked a lot into that. And for me, three things became pretty clear. I have to have strong token utility on a platform level, which we can dig a bit into in more detail. I have to have at least one game or game experience that connects everyone that wants to partner with us, which is Delarnia Nexus, which we are building right now. It's a gamified social hub of its own MMORPG kind of core loop. Again, we can talk about this. And then in terms of games, I want to focus on games that have, like, in a very traditional sense, are just unique, where I believe that they will be super fun, where we can get the community onboarded very early on to get feedback. We don't develop for like 2, 3, 4 years and then drop something. Community is on board as soon as we can with initial alpha versions and stuff. And the important aspect here is, with a strong platform in mind, with a strong token utility on a platform level, we can set up our games as Web3 games, but we don't have to focus on maximizing the token utility. I mean, those games can monetize in all kinds of ways. They can be completely free to play with ads or whatever, because we don't have to focus on additional token utility. And now we have like this whole space of opportunities to create great games, right? And focus on gameplay and all of these aspects. So yeah, this is what led us to where we are right now.
That's amazing. That's a really great, I mean, that's bigger than an elevator pitch, but like you just compacted so much stuff.
Sorry.
No, I don't. No, I love that. Like, I think that like the way that you explained it, like it's very clear that this is a very well thought out platform. Like you kind of, before it was being like while you were concepting it, sorry, you thought about all the angles and you're thinking about the space, because like one of the things that I really like to talk about is this Web3 space and blockchain, because like it came around a while ago, but it's still quite new and people are still getting into it because a lot of people don't know what it is. So I think that the people that are in this space, it's really important for them to think like you. And also, you know, we have the same thought process on Alice. And I think that's why like our projects really feed into the innovation of this industry, because you're really trying to figure out like, okay, where are the needs and like, what are they? How can we achieve them? So I think, you know, just the way that you explained how it was concepted is great, because it shows like how much thought you put into each step and why it is, how it has gotten to where it is now. So that's really great. So basically like it was kind of the same deal for Alice, because when we started in this space, we were basically thinking like, how do we create a game to reward players for collaboration? Because we felt like at the time that it was being concepted that wasn't really existing. You know, so that's why we wanted to create this like really cozy, beautiful farming game for people to come into, and essentially collaborate together and then reward people for that collaboration. So instead of me going into how Alice has evolved, I kind of want Tassel to touch on this, because both of you have this very similar quality where you've been in from the very beginning of these projects. Because Tassel really joined Alice like right at the beginning in the first alpha stage. So maybe Tassel, you can kind of touch on how you came across Alice, and then what your thoughts are of the evolution of Alice, basically just starting off as a very basic like farming game.
Yeah, well, I mean, when I started, like you say, it was at the very beginning. I guess it became obvious to me at some point that blockchain and video games are going to intersect. And when that became obvious to me, that's when I started looking for Web3 games. And My Neighbor Alice is one of the first ones that actually came up where I was like, oh, this is interesting. I like the idea. I think that it had this similar dynamic that was like Animal Crossing, Minecraft. It just had that similar build. So when I started, there was actually a land lottery sale, and I was like, I read through the white paper. I kind of decided, I was like, okay, I'm going to give this one a shot. So I staked the tokens to try to win a land, and I did not win. So I decided, you know what? I like the idea enough. I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to buy my own land. And then, you know, a little bit of time went by, and we came out with Alpha Season 1, and I joined, and that's when I started realizing, okay, the bones are solid, you know, like there wasn't much to do yet. I mean, there was still very much, hey, this is a proof of concept, but I could tell that, you know, that there was a lot of work going on behind the scenes, and every iteration after that was just so much work had been done on it. And yeah, I mean, it's just a really fascinating space to be in. So that's kind of how my journey of on the space was.
Yeah,
I have to just quickly add, because I don't think anyone knows it, not even on my team. Alice was one of the reasons why I joined this Web3 gaming space. Because back then, when I was when I was actually leaving my former studio, I was reached out by some of the stakeholders of Delania, you know, just to have discussions. They wanted to have more people on board with gaming background, And back then, I already did a couple of blockchain-based prototypes with other studios, right? I mean, it's a tech that's fascinating, so you dig into these things. But I wasn't really sure about, this is an industry I want to commit to. So I researched more about the games outside of Axie that exist, right? And Alice was one of the things where I felt like, oh, wait, they are building something that is substantially different to what Axie is doing at first sight for me, right? That's a team with a great philosophy. I actually got in touch with a couple of people back then on that team just to hear like, hey, where is the industry right now? What are people talking about? And it was one of the factors that made me, well, basically take on the job. So I'm happy that you guys are here because thanks to you, I'm also here. So I don't think I've ever mentioned that. It's actually part of the story.
That makes my heart so warm. I wish I could react with lots of hearts right now, like on Google Meets. That's wow, that's wonderful. I mean, I'm glad you're here too. And honestly, that's why I'm still here too, because like Alice really, it drove me to want to be on this project and like work in this industry. I had no idea what this industry was about until I got into Alice and then started researching it and becoming more and more fascinated by what it is and what Alice is in this industry. Because you're right, like I think that this game is so unique. And, you know, we did start off as just farming, but then we introduced fishing and crafting and staking and customization, and now we have emoting. And the thing that I really love about both of our like Dart Open Network platform and Alice is that like we're just open and wanting to collaborate with other games and other brands and partner with lots of different people because we want them to come into our project and help us expand our world. And so I feel like from the conception of Alice, at least, that was always something that was on our mind, but it was kind of just waiting for the right moment to open up our world to that possibility. And now we're here with this, being able to partner and have interoperable partnerships. It's going to expand, you know, the Chromia ecosystem so much. It's going to expand our universe so much. And I'm so glad that we can have this partnership. There's so much more I want to chat about, so I'm going to try to like keep it until the end. But this is a same chain partnership, so I kind of want to talk about that next, because we're coexisting on the same chain on Chromia, and Chromia is very innovative with the way that they produce their technology, which helps empower all of the projects that are on the chain to thrive. And so, of course, one of the biggest things for us recently has been the technology to help us have interoperable partnerships come in. But because that will help, you know, also expand our projects, it'll help expand the Chromia ecosystem as well. So I wanted to ask you, Manfred, how you think that the Chromia tech is able to empower both of our projects, and also why this partnership specifically between Alice and Dart is so important.
Yeah. Oh God, there's so much to unpack here. Before I go into my answer, I think what everyone listening has to understand that also for Chromia, we are super early on, right? Like this whole ecosystem is just starting out. It's not really maturing. There's still a lot happening, with a lot of energy behind it, which makes it so much fun to cooperate on these things. Mm-hmm. So a couple of things, and here big kudos to the whole Chromia team if you guys are listening. We know it's a pretty stressful time for you guys as well, but you're super helpful, and we can tell that you try to push the right things forward. So thanks for that, and collaborate on the tech here. In terms of the ecosystem itself, like the first thing, again, our journey is like quite different to you guys, right? As far as I know, Alice was always on Chromia from testnet times to right now, right, towards mainnet. Mm-hmm. For us, we took a different approach. Our early prototypes of Mines of Delania had been based on Chromia, but for mainnet release, as the game launched back in 2022, we moved on to BNB chain. We then migrated back to Chromia, right? Now we have projects in development that are living on Immutable, but also on Chromia with Nexus coming up. So we are, broadly speaking, exploring all kinds of ecosystems, but Chromia is like one of our core pillars technology-wise. And I think for the collaboration here specifically, interoperability between projects within an ecosystem is something that a lot of ecosystems are exploring. I think it's not only Chromia, right? But I think the way side chains work in Chromia with you having a dedicated, basically computational power, the stability that comes with it, and then allowing players to move on to other side chains in a very user-friendly or as user-friendly as possible way. This is what sets Chromia apart for us on that level. There's the whole other aspect of how Chromia operates actually, right? Like how you utilize it, the relational database aspect of it, how gas-free it is for the user, because how you actually work with those containers, how you lease them and everything, which makes it also way easier for us to calculate on demand and make right choices in regards to the computational power we need to run our business. It's actually very refreshing if you've worked before on other, Ethereum-based chains, EVM-based chains, and you have to deal with gas fees and all of the those frameworks basically, and the requirements they come with. Having something that, well, in terms of operating it, almost works like some, AWS setup that you work with for your projects is super refreshing and so straightforward. So yeah, that aspect we are enjoying quite a lot.
Nice. That's great. Well, why do you think the partnership between Alice and Dar is so important right now with the way that our projects are?
Yes, because we can show off what everyone else is talking about. Like this whole space, since I joined the Web3 gaming, two aspects played into like the USP that was proposed to users, right? Like it's complete asset ownership, and with that you can earn based on your performance because you can sell your assets. Well, let's ignore tokens for a moment, but like it's NFTs and stuff. And then there's and you can take your asset everywhere you want and use it, right? In other games and whatever. Huge promise, and nothing happened in 3 years. Like nothing. Mm-hmm. Like who worked on this? Nobody, right? Like almost nobody. Let's be honest here. So this is why I said early on with the open network, like if we do this thing, let's try to figure out how we can make this interoperability part really work. Like give this additional value to users, but also projects, right? And it's super complex. There's technical complexity to it. There's like design complexity to it, economical complexity to it. So it's not an easy thing, but let's figure out how we can do this. And I think this collaboration here between Alice and the Open Network, with the help of Chromia, because it already reduces the technical complexity, which is great, we can be the first to show off that it works.
Yeah, definitely.
And I want to be the first on this. Yeah, it's exciting.
Me too. Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, from a community perspective, Tassel, like why? Like, I mean, we've already announced like a few partnerships, and we have many more to come as well. But why do you think that us introducing partnerships, like interoperable partnerships with Alice, is so important from a community standpoint?
Well, I mean, I think that that there's the obvious, right? Like the value and utility that comes from having these partnerships, and like interoperability is like empowering assets and across different games and different platforms and stuff, and it really kind of gives exposure to both. I mean, the partnership is like, as it is, like it's like a relationship. They both a good one. Both people both benefit from it equally. It's kind of how I look at it, and that's kind of how I look at all the partnerships that that we're making, and I think this one is exactly the same. I think that there's massive benefits that come from both, and I think that both will perform better than one by itself.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think also like it's really important for us to be partnering with other brands and projects that align with our vision too. And, it does unlock a lot of value for our community members as well, because like, I know that the other thing is like some projects are really particular about collaborating, and a lot of them like to stick to like on-chain, same chain collaborations rather than cross-chain collaborations, which is something that I want to talk to you both about next, because exactly like how you're saying that having these partnerships creates so much value for everybody, because it gives you extra utility to use your NFT or your assets in different places. that's what you want. Like, I feel like if I'm going to be like investing in something, like I want to have like the maximum amount of utility given to me for me to expand my investment across multiple projects, and like meet new people and experience new things rather than just having it kind of like stagnant. And like, I don't know, I'm like personally, like I've always felt like doing the same thing over and over again, it gets really boring. And I consistently need to be challenged in order for my mind to be like stimulated. And so I feel like if you're constantly only collaborating with projects or brands that are on the same chain, like there's only so much that you can do. And I feel like it does need to expand like cross chain. So like I think that for this reason, obviously it's like it's really great that we're able to do that, and that like our ecosystem is so open to having other projects collaborate with us. So do you guys think that like the Web3 space needs to be like more inclusive to having cross-chain collaboration, and like what are your thoughts around that?
I mean, I do. I personally think that the more spread out we can get, the better. I mean, there's a lot of people play. I mean, we're just talking about games in this particular instance, but people play games for a lot of different reasons. I play a game maybe because I want to, relax and farm, but another person plays it because maybe they want to, build these intricate, designs, or another person maybe not interested in that at all. Maybe they just want to farm, and that's just talking about our ecosystem right now. I mean, when you start bringing in these partnerships and talking about interoperability, you have that just it magnifies that effect by so much. So, in my opinion, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I double that. Absolutely. I'm baffled by the state of the Web3 gaming space in particular, and how protective some ecosystems are and reluctant to actually work on cross-chain experiences. Here's the
Mm-hmm.
thing, right? If we focus on Web3 gaming, and like in particular at the moment, that's not the biggest community you can work with at the moment for any gaming project, right? We are in hard times for Web3. We are hard times for gaming in Web3 in particular.
Yeah.
We see how activity slows down across games, and now we are fracturing a community across multiple ecosystems. And then we want to limit those sub communities to that specific ecosystem. It baffles me. We see the complete reverse of that in traditional gaming, where it's like play anywhere, right? Like I can play Street Fighter 6 on my PlayStation against someone who plays on Steam or wherever. Like we are all gamers. The platform doesn't matter. Now all of a sudden in Web3, a lot of ecosystems are acting like platform holders 20 years ago, super protective of their environment, super protective of the communities. Like this baffles me. I think it's the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
We have to be as projects. I mean, there's a difference between the ecosystem and a project, right? Like a game, like you guys or us, Chromia or I don't know, Binance or whoever. Um, but as projects, we have to work with communities across all ecosystems. Like limiting ourselves to sub communities. This is such a, how to put it nice, such an interesting idea. Let's say it that way.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
stagnate if you don't innovate, right? I mean, that's kind of the thing. You stagnate
exactly.
if you don't innovate. So you need to be able to keep broadening and using every bit of, like you were saying about like me. I don't play one type of game. I play every type of game. I've been a gamer
Yeah.
since for absolutely for and then even in traditional Web 2, I thought, well, there's Web 3 available. So okay, I want to branch out to that as well. Why do the same thing when you could do something different else as well? I don't understand why we
Yeah.
wouldn't.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like, I can see the perspective because you want to protect your brand, and maybe
Yes.
there's some value in keeping it very exclusive to like that brand only. But in my opinion, like as I learn more about this industry, I mean, I feel like the whole point of having decentralized industry and space is so that you can do whatever you want. Like you can collaborate with other brands that you like you can see your NFTs in other spaces, like I don't know. I always get really excited too. Like when I mean, I don't really game very much anymore, but when I was younger and I would see like collaborations between different games and be able to wear like, a sweater that was a part of a different game or was branded with something else, like that always made me super excited. So like, why wouldn't we want to do that here? Like, I just feel like it adds so much value, and it also adds like, it allows everybody to have different perspectives of different brands and like really experience something that you wouldn't get to experience otherwise. Because like, in Alice, we've really like, we've built our game to where it is with like everything that's in it, so that you can come in from a different community and experience what we have to offer. But we also want our community that's already there to be experiencing what other brands have to bring to our game too. And then that expansion together, like that collaboration helps us to expand our universe in a way that we never thought possible, because you're adding in so many other creative minds into the space, which you wouldn't get if we closed our game off to just keeping it as Alice. Like, so I think that it's quite innovative. I know that a lot of people have been dabbling in partnering with other brands and things like that, but I feel like the way that we're doing it here in Alice is going to be quite different, and I'm really excited for everybody to experience it.
Yeah, I think they're like, yeah, that question has like so many levels, right? Like from just the ecosystem level,
Yeah.
and we talked about being chain agnostic or not, and limiting yourself to one existing ecosystem, and then you just bridged over to like brand integration and collaborating across projects, then even deeper. I think on that particular part, I think a lot of games can benefit from it. There are games that are suited to do that in the right way, right? Like Alice is an
Yeah.
example. Lion Nexus for us will be one of those games. I mean, we see everyone sees Fortnite and what they are doing left and right in terms of brands, like a prime example at the moment.
Yeah.
And I also have like a lot of respect towards games that have like such a strong integrity as a project, like a creative integrity, where they are like, we don't want anything to come in because like we are so controlled in terms of our creative direction. Huge respect for that. I think there's room for everything as long as you know exactly what you want to accomplish as a project, right? And what your
Exactly.
objectives are.
Yeah.
So I just don't like a dogmatic approach in any direction, and people like being super protective and being like, "Hey, what Fortnite is doing is just like awful because like it devalues their own brand." Like, well, it's obviously working for them, and if it's working for them, so what are you
Yeah.
talking?
And it's a bit,
Exactly. Go ahead, Tassel.
I was just gonna say, and it really depends on what you're going for as a project too. Like you said, if we're if does it make sense to the project if you're playing, Super Smash Brothers, and they want to add in characters from different franchises to, you don't
Yes.
people are interested in that. I'll buy a copy of that just because I want to play as Ryu from Street Fighter. Like there's there's a lot of
Yeah,
time.
if working in gaming in general teach me one lesson, then it's like don't be dogmatic about anything. I mean, things change, expectations change, like your whole demographic changes of users that grow up with different mindsets. You have to be able to see that and to adapt to it. Just don't be
Hmm.
dogmatic. Like
Agreed.
Yeah.
there's room for everything. Deliver quality, know what you want to achieve, know why you want to achieve it, and then pull through.
Yes, exactly. I mean, that's one of the. It's so funny that, okay, just a couple things. So, Super Smash Bros. I just played like on my friend's Switch before I traveled a while ago, and I was like, oh, I can be Link. Like, absolutely, I'm going to be Link. I'm not going to be Mario. Forget that. Like, that's awesome because now you're like bringing in this whole other like demographic of people who like Zelda and like want to play it in a different IP. Like that's so dope. And then also something that you said before, Manfred, was like in this space, like gaming itself is like it's quite new and it's still evolving. So of course, like NFTs have been here from the beginning, and those are the spaces or the brands that have really been like growing. And so now that gaming is here, like it just makes sense for us to like add NFT brands as partners into games to expand them a lot more as well. Um, One thing I wanted to ask both of you, since you've been here basically from the beginning of like, well, 2021, I guess, was like all the hype of NFTs and things like that. So
Yes.
did you guys ever when
Great
all of
times,
that was
right?
happening. Yeah, I know. I wish,
It was amazing. 2021, early 22 was amazing times. Can we go back, please?
it's so funny. Like I remember at 2021 when all these NFTs were coming out, my stepdad was like, "Do you know what the craze is about all these NFTs?" And I looked at him and was like, "Dad, I have no idea what you're talking about." Like, I'm so mad at myself that I didn't look into it at that time. But like at that time, did you both expect there to be a time like this where um, these NFT brands would just evolve so massively, and then Web3 gaming would come into play where you would see them wanting to partner with each other and build expansive worlds together? Did you think that would be a possibility?
I always thought it would be a possibility. I think that NFTs are interesting because anything that has utility is good, right? I mean, if you can use it for something, you can really branch it out into so many different things. And I think that the hype went crazy and people didn't know what they were, and people were buying them for no reason at all. Those ones will probably never actually be fruitful. Well, I mean, they might be, but it would be a luck, thing. Whereas if you actually understand what you're purchasing or why you have it, it's so much more powerful. And NFTs have a utility. They can be used in so many different ways. It's not like they're just for one thing. So yeah, I totally thought that was going to be the case at some point.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was pretty obvious where it was heading back then. The only thing that I was always skeptical about, and I remain to this day, is like I'm well, skeptical is the wrong word, but what I'm not interested in is just some shallow marketing stuff within games with brands, right? Like it's with no real utility, with nothing that's interesting, no interesting ways to unlock things. It's just like you can clearly tell that project is just doing a marketing stunt here. Like I don't know. For me, and that was like one of my biggest criticisms towards how metaverses have been handled back in 2021, maybe even 2022. Is for me as someone who creates games, I want the user, the player, to have a reason to join the space I'm creating, right? To have a sense of belonging, to feel like, yeah, my time is spent in a manner that I take something out of this. I enjoy my time here. It's worth it, basically. I form communities. I don't want to just drop some, here we're partnering with Nike. You can see the Nike sign in our game world. So hopefully people flood in and that's it. Come on. Like this is, and with a lot of metaverses, luckily not Alice, to be honest, because you build a game from the ground up, right? Like that's the great thing about it. There's purpose there. There's activity there. But a lot of other metaverses, I was in discussions with a couple of bigger brands, also like sports brands who wanted to dig into the metaverse space. And I advised early on about not just replicating what's out there, but figure out how your users have a sense of belonging in your space. If you want to create those social communities, right? Like, why are they there? It's the one example that I drew very early to one big brand. I cannot name which one it was, but we've been in a creative meeting about what they wanted to build in terms of metaverse, and I listened to what they proposed, which was another like just it's a virtual space without anything, right? Like basically anything. And I told to them, what you guys are doing here is you're creating like a virtual town place, and you're dropping users in, and you expect users to socialize and to engage with each other. Those users will leave. Like, what do they have to do there, right? They at least have to have one strong common interest and activity to engage around. So my example to them was like, you can drop those people into a town square and nothing will happen. Or you have something like a Comic Con. So yeah, people drop in, but they have a goal, right? They want to deal with comics, and they are surrounded by like-minded people. So you might be a fan of Marvel comics or manga or whatever, but there's like this common theme around you, and now you have a sense of belonging, right? There's a community you want to engage with. You have all kinds of activities. Like, think in that manner about your community and what you're creating, and not just a virtual town hall where people just figure out what they want to do. I'm not sure this is going to turn out the way people think it would.
Yeah, totally.
I agree.
That's so important too, because I feel like when you think about it like that from the perspective of what are people going to do when they come in the game, rather than like how is this game basically just going to work so that we can get people in here? It's completely
Yes.
different. you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I feel like we really do that with Alice. Like I've said on last week we were chatting with Soy from Introverse, and I was kind of like explaining that like we want to create this space and give people a reason like to come in and communicate with each other. And so that's why we've worked so hard to create like customization options for people and emoting and ways to communicate in the game, and to really like self-express, you know, because like you can you can be like, I also said this too, but like I feel like I'm somebody outside the game, but when I'm in the game I'm somebody a little bit different because I can't
Yeah.
express myself the same way in real life that I can inside of an Alice. And that allows me to meet so many different people that like I won't meet in the real world. And like that is a really cool thing about it, you know? And I think that we really do a good job at listening to what the community wants as well, and then incorporating that with our game. Tassel can speak on that, of course.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and I think that that's really important because, like, that's one thing that really impressed me when I was, part of the community, and I'm still part of the community, but but like just how much the game evolved from one iteration to the next, and how much my neighbor Alice listens to, as long as it's within the technical, boundaries of what can be done, and even that's get pushed, that. But if you have a good idea and it's a suggestion that goes in there, my neighbor Alice, they listen to it. It's important, and I think that if the community feels valued, and they'll keep coming back. That's why I kept coming back. It's every single season they added new things that we wanted, and it wasn't quite there, but it was a little bit more there each time. That's a lot of value behind that to me. Sorry
Yeah.
about my voice.
No, good. No, but great projects do that all the time, right? Like before I joined Delania, I was working in free to play across all kinds of studios, and the best projects I worked at actually listened to the community. Like back then, browser games, web-based games, mobile games, whatever you say, right? Like the good projects listen to the community. They knew how to filter the information they got. Like you cannot listen to every voice, right?
Of
You
course.
know how it is, especially if you're working with communities. I
Yeah.
can imagine you know how it is. But you at least listen, right? Like you at least review what they're suggesting. You have a look at these things, and I think it's a matter of respect to your community. You have to respect your players, I feel, and
Mhm.
yeah, no, I think it's important.
Well, I think that's obviously like what you've done with transitioning, you know, Minds of Delornia and then going to Dar Open Network. Like it's kind of the same thing because, like I said before, like you really saw that there was a need that wasn't being fulfilled, and then you guys did your job to create Dar Open Network, which is like this expensive platform. So, you know, we're doing something similar with Alice too. But I mean, you've been you've started off as did you start off as a game dev, Manfred? Is that how you got into gaming back in the
Oh,
day?
I was an engineer actually, and process management, and just print tech and media tech. So I had that, and then I was working for a year after I finished my studies, and I figured like, I love to create games. I was always into gaming, always worked on small things on a creative level, right? Like I like to do illustrations and part time artist, so to speak. And so my whole approach to it was like I have a project management production background. I know the creative side of things in terms of visuals, at least. Like, let's see if I can get into gaming, which happened. I then quickly became a producer, and then from a producer position, I grew into product management, game direction. So that was actually my
Amazing. What a switch. We're glad that you did the
yes,
switch because now you're
yes.
Yeah.
here.
Imagine working as an engineer, making money, and then be like, let's do gaming, right? There's not a lot of
Hey,
money in gaming early on.
that's
It's
so
all about the
funny.
passion.
I wanted to get into sports production. So now I'm here as a creative producer in gaming, and I don't know if I want to go back. So I'm happy where I am too. And I love
I'm
that
sure.
story.
Yeah. No, I'm sure I'm not going to go back. Like I'm
Yeah.
sticking. I'm sticking around. Like this is
I mean,
my
it's
place to be.
Isn't it
I
an exciting
always
place to be
say
in?
it it is. I'm always saying that like there's never like or it's never too late to switch your career. Especially
Yeah.
if you feel like something is driving you in terms of what you're passionate about and you figure it out later on in life, make the switch because you're just going to be so much more happier for it. And like at the time when I was coming into Alice, I was transitioning out of animation, like traditional animation,
Oh, nice.
working in like CG shows, and then I decided to come here, and I don't want to go back because this industry and this project have really like been so eye-opening and life-changing for me. So it's the more that I learn about it, like the more I become fascinated with it and the more I want to stay in it. So as my last question though to both of you, how do you think this space is going to evolve over the next few years? I love asking this question to people because everybody always gives me a different answer. But just in, you can answer just in general or like in terms of Alice, in terms of mine's, Adar Open Network as well. Anything, because I like to see what people think is going to happen over the next few years.
I have a hard time knowing like exactly how what I hope is that it expands and that that a lot of, I'd say, Web 2, like traditional gamers realize the utility and the excitement that's behind it, because I do think that there's something that they're missing that's really important here, and I that would be my prediction, is that we see more adoption from that over the next couple of years.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go into the same direction. This is what I hope happens, because I'm for sure wrong on if I do any prediction here. If I would have predicted anything 2 years ago, good Lord.
Get out your crystal ball.
But yeah, what I hope happens in this space is that blockchain as a technology matures for gaming in a way where mass adoption is not about users coming in, because this is what people usually focus on, right? Like mass adoption in Web3, mass adoption in Web3 gaming. It's like more people playing. For me, the crucial part for mass adoption here is like more established studios working with the tech, right? Like all of a sudden you have Sega and Nintendo and Sony or whoever else developing games and utilizing blockchain in one way or the other. That's the important step for mass adoption for me. And I think we will see I hope we will see an industry there where Web3 gaming as an umbrella term can mean a lot of things, right? Without being dogmatic about being fully on-chain or fully decentralized. Now, maybe someone uses just parts as a database because it makes sense for a specific feature or whatever, right? Like, I don't know where it heads. But I really hope that we will see mass adoption happening on an industry level with traditional developers utilizing the tech, specifically with Chromia. I mean, let's be honest here, it allows a lot of things to be handled that you need as a developer in a very straightforward way. But yeah, this is, I think, the thing that I hope that we will see. More traditional developers jumping on the tech, seeing the tech, seeing the value, and basically just adding it to the toolbox, right? Doesn't mean that you have to do anything with it, but we no longer have like the sentiment of, oh, well, this is blockchain, right? Like try to talk to someone who's been in, I don't know, mobile gaming now for 20 years. The moment you drop blockchain, it's like, yeah, I'm not sure I want to do anything with that. Yeah. Without even looking into it. I hope we will reduce that. Yeah.
Exactly. I love those answers. I mean, yeah, it's the same thing for me too. I really do hope that people stop being resistant to blockchain and Web3 in general, because it's quite a fascinating industry. I feel like there's so much that you can do, and there's so much that you will be able to do as it expands and evolves. And also, yeah, just like seeing a lot of the cross collaboration that's going to happen. Like I mentioned before, like where Alice is also going to be having a lot of partnerships come up in the future. So like seeing how all of those evolve and seeing how the ones that we've already announced will evolve over the next little while as well is really, really exciting.
Yeah. I also want to add that regarding the whole mass adoption and a industry-wide acceptance towards the tech, I mean, it's also due to us to prove what we are doing, right? Like, let's create great experiences. Let's have something like ours, which is amazing, stuff that we are building, show that people just engage with these kind of games, products, because they enjoy it, they have fun. It's not all about NFT scams and token values and speculation on assets. It's actually about the experiences and the products. So we have to also to prove it. Like, it's not like we can just sit back and be like, well, let's hope it happens. Let's do a good job on this and then be part of taking it to that level.
100%.
Yeah, exactly. Totally. Yeah. It definitely anyway, I'm not going to get into it because, we could go for another 48 minutes and chat about
it. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
We will. Definitely. We will. Again, I would love to have you back, Manfred. You're so amazing to chat with. And Tassel, of course, you're always welcome to come back too. So thank you both.
Thank you guys so much.
It was amazing to be here. Super fun.
Super interesting, definitely. So yeah, we are super excited to see how the partnership between Dara and Alice unfolds in the future. So again, thank you both for your fresh perspectives on everything that we've discussed. Um, do either of you have any final words before we sign off?
Not from my side. I think that we have discussed a lot of stuff. I'll say that I have a blue healer and a hound.
Yes.
Those are my two dogs.
I need to see photos.
On my side, to everyone listening who's interested in the stuff we are building, go on to lionheart.com, take a look at our social media channels. We have a couple of things launching soon, and I'm talking about 2 months actually in terms of launch window for a couple of products that either relaunching or like new things we are launching. So it's quite an amazing summer for us with a lot of things happening around the corner, which I need to go back to. But it was much fun to be here with you guys.
Amazing. Thank
Likewise.
you, Manfred.
Thanks for joining.
Alrighty, so right before we leave, as I mentioned before, Alice will be dropping its biggest release on June 17th. We also have a lot of stuff coming up this summer as well. So keep tuned in for all of that. Our first wave of the huge adventure airdrop is happening right now. So make sure that you visit our X profile to click on the link to get all of those details. I'll be back next week hosting another super special, super huge open mic at 2 p.m. CET. So I hope that we will see you all there. Again, thank you both so much, and we will see you later. Bye.
Hey guys.